My graduation day was supposed to be about me. I'd worked 3 jobs, taken night classes, and pushed through every obstacle to finish my degree. I walked across that stage at 25 years old, diploma in hand, tears in my eyes, thinking my family would finally be proud. Instead, they were waiting in my driveway with a legal folder and a smile that didn't reach their eyes. That's when everything changed. I'm Rachel Mitchell, and what happened next taught me that sometimes the people who claim to love you the most are the ones who want to destroy you. Stay with me because this story doesn't end the way they planned. My mom pulled me aside before we even got inside the house. She had that look, the one she used when she was about to say something that would change everything. "Rachel, we need to talk about your future," she said, holding a manila envelope like it was precious. My dad stood behind her with my brother, both their faces serious. My stomach knew something was wrong before my brain caught up. We gathered in the living room, the same room where they'd promised to help me through college, the same room where I'd cried when my scholarship almost fell through. But today, the air felt different. My mom opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a letter, official, typed, cold. "What is that?" I asked. Her smile was practiced. "It's a family decision, Rachel. We've decided you need to learn about real responsibility." She turned the letter toward me. "We're removing you as the beneficiary of our will. We're claiming back the money we invested in your education. And we're expecting you to pay rent here, starting now." I froze. Rent? In my own childhood home? But I just graduated. I don't have a job yet. My dad cleared his throat. "That's not our problem," he said simply. "Your brother didn't go to college. He's working. You should be too." My brother sat there silent, this satisfied look on his face like he'd won something. My mom kept talking, her words becoming white noise. Something about me being ungrateful. Something about teaching me lessons. Something about how they'd sacrificed enough. But I was already making calculations in my head. 3 jobs during college. No social life. No parties, just work and school and sleep. And this was how they celebrated it. That's when I smiled. Not a happy smile, a knowing smile. Because in that moment, I realized something crucial. They expected me to break down. They expected tears. They expected me to beg and apologize for being successful without their permission. They didn't know I'd already started planning my exit strategy 2 years ago. I stood up calmly. "Okay," I said. "I'll be out by the end of the week." Their faces shifted. They weren't ready for that answer. They wanted negotiation. They wanted drama. They wanted me to need them. Instead, I walked to my room and started packing like my life depended on it, because it did. What they didn't know was that I'd been saving every penny. What they didn't know was that my friend Sarah had already offered me her spare bedroom. What they didn't know was that I had a job interview lined up for Monday morning. What they didn't know was that my former professor had written me a glowing recommendation letter. 3 days later, my car was packed. I'd left a note on the kitchen counter explaining I was moving out. My mom called immediately. "Rachel, we were just trying to motivate you," she said, her voice suddenly sweet. "We didn't mean it so literally." "Too late," I replied. "You meant it, and now I'm gone." I moved into Sarah's apartment on a Friday night. The room was small, but it was mine. I didn't have to ask permission to exist there. I didn't have to explain my dreams or apologize for my success. I could breathe. Monday morning, I walked into the interview confident. The hearing manager looked at my resume, my recommendations, my test scores. She hired me on the spot. $60,000 a year, benefits, growth potential. Everything my family said I couldn't achieve alone. I called my parents to tell them. My dad picked up. "That's nice, Rachel," he said flatly. "Don't expect us to celebrate until you're making real money." He hung up. I stood there in my tiny room, holding my phone, and I smiled again. That knowing smile. Because I was already planning what came next. 6 months into my job, I'd saved $30,000. 6 months. I started taking screenshots of every conversation with my family, every guilt trip, every manipulation, every lie about how they'd sacrificed for me when really I'd sacrificed for myself. I documented everything on a secure drive that they didn't know about. My mom started texting me, guilt trip messages. "Rachel, don't forget we're your family. Rachel, you should visit. Rachel, we miss you. But between those messages were comments about how I'd abandoned them, how I was selfish, how I owed them for raising me. I saved every single one. Then came the request that changed everything. My parents called a family meeting. They said they needed financial help. My dad's business was struggling. They wanted me to invest in it. $20,000. They demanded it like it was obvious. Like my success was their safety net. Like I owed them my entire future because they'd given me my past. I said no, simply, clearly, no. My mom lost it. She screamed about how ungrateful I was, how I was ruining the family, how I was selfish and cruel. My dad got quiet instead, which was somehow worse. He stopped calling, stopped texting, stopped acknowledging I existed. That's when I knew what I had to do. I reached out to a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, but one who specialized in family disputes and financial manipulation. I brought her every screenshot, every text, every voicemail. I showed her my college loans that I'd paid back myself. I showed her the documentation of my salary, my tax returns, my independence. She looked at me with this expression that said she'd seen this before. Rachel, she said, you have options. You could pursue a case for emotional exploitation. You could file for financial protection. You could make sure this never happens again. But that's not what I wanted. I didn't want money from them. I wanted them to understand. So instead, I did something different. I created a trust, with my own money, for my education, with my own name. I registered my business interests separately. I made sure every single thing I owned was documented, protected, and completely severed from any family claim. I built walls so high that they could never touch my life again. Then I sent them a letter, professional, typed, cold, just like theirs. I informed them that I was legally distancing myself from any family financial obligations. I explained that any future inheritance, trust, or family property would not go to them. I made it clear that I would be proceeding with separate legal counsel if they attempted any further financial manipulation. I signed it, officially, witnessed by my lawyer. And then I waited. 2 weeks later, my dad showed up at my apartment, just him. He looked smaller than I remembered, like the weight of what he'd done had finally crushed him down to his real size. Rachel, he said, his voice shaking, what have you done? I invited him in. I showed him the paperwork. I explained everything calmly and clearly, like I was teaching a child. I told him that his choices had consequences. I told him that my success was not their backup plan. I told him that my love for them had limits, and he'd found them. He cried, actually cry, but I didn't comfort him. I'd done enough of that already all my life. Instead, I handed him a box with his things, old photos, memorabilia, everything that connected us. And I said something that I meant with every fiber of my being. You can rebuild this, but you'll do it without me. You'll do it by admitting what you did and actually changing, not just apologizing, not just saying sorry, actually changing. He left without responding. That was 8 months ago. My dad reached out to me last week, a simple text. Rachel, I've been in therapy. I've been thinking about what I did. I want to make this right. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I'm just asking if maybe, someday, you might consider it. I didn't respond immediately, because I don't owe him an immediate response. I don't owe him anything. But for the first time, I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe the possibility of it. I sit in my apartment now, in my own space, under my own roof, with my own rules. I make decisions for me. I spend my money on myself. I've built a life that nobody can take away because it belongs only to me. Every promotion I get, every milestone I reach, every achievement I celebrate is mine. Not theirs, not borrowed. Mine. My mom still posts inspirational quotes about family on social media. My brother still pretends none of this happened. My extended family still questions why I'm not at family dinners. But I don't explain myself anymore. I don't justify my choices. I just live my life, and I live it well. If your family ever tried to claim your success as theirs, comment 1. If you've already cut ties, comment 2. If you're still fighting for independence, comment 3. Because here's the truth that took me until 25 to learn. The greatest revenge isn't getting even. It's not destroying them or proving them wrong or making them regret their choices. The greatest revenge is building a life so good, so independent, so complete that you don't even need them anymore. You don't think about them. You don't wait for their approval. You don't hope for their pride. You just exist, fully and completely, without them. And that is a power they can never take away. Stay strong. Iron Revenge is here for every story like yours.